It's Friday, April 5th. I'm Lisa Rufionge, and this is TV7.ca News. Tomorrow marks the anniversary of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. Our thoughts go out to everyone that is still affected by this tragedy. In the news today, our city is on the path to truth and reconciliation. We meet two St. Albert candidates for the upcoming election, and the authorities need your help once again. But first, the provincial election is heating up, and this week we have two local candidates for you to meet. First, we have the Alberta Party candidate for the St. Albert riding, Barry Bailey. The newcomer to politics told us that the importance of this election and his love for this city were the reasons he threw his hat in the ring.
I have lived in St. Albert for about the past 22 years, and I wouldn't live anywhere else. I grew up in, I was born in Edmonton, raised in North Edmonton, but came out to St. Albert, and we raised our two girls here. I've been running two businesses here in St. Albert for the past 20 years or so, and you know, it's home for us, and it's offered so much to us and our family in so many different ways that well, we all know it's the best place in Canada to live.
The longtime St. Albert resident feels his connection to the community makes him the best choice for our city.
Well, I'm the past chair of the Chamber of Commerce. I currently sit as the chair for the Arts and Heritage Foundation. So I worked with a lot of diverse groups in and around St. Albert over the years. I have a relationship with all of the councillors and our mayor. You know, St. Albert, you see people everywhere. You bump into them. So I think I can take those relationships that I've built throughout the community and use them to ensure that St. Albert is well represented, that our voice is heard, that our needs are listened to. There's funding processes that come from the federal government through to the provincial government and then through to municipalities. The catch is the provincial government decides how and where and how much that money actually goes out. So if you don't have a relationship with a municipality or with your MLA, maybe that money goes over to Medicine Hat, or maybe it goes to Slave Lake or somewhere, instead of coming to be invested in St. Albert.
And we asked Bailey what he feels is the biggest concern St. Albertans have this election cycle.
The biggest concern I'm hearing, number one, is jobs, is the economy. People that haven't been working the past couple of years are worried that they won't be working in the near future, and people just want to get to work. And almost every conversation ends with, "Could we please get a pipeline?" So obviously that's a priority, and I think you ask anybody in and around this election, what's important, what's the priority? I think the answer that comes up most often is a pipeline.
And don't forget that the election is only a few weeks away on April 16th.
A St. Albert pediatrician has been charged with sexually assaulting an 8-year-old girl. RCMP issued a warrant for Dr. Ramneek Mohinder Kumar, who practiced at Rivercrest Medical Clinic. He was taken into custody on March 27th. The assault and sexual contact allegedly took place while Kumar was on a family holiday in southern Alberta in 2015. Kumar also faces 2 charges of sexual interference with a person under the age of 16. The College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta is aware of the charges and has asked Kumar to withdraw from practice on March 28th. And a spokesperson for Rivercrest has confirmed that Kumar has in fact resigned from this position at the medical center. He has been granted bail and is scheduled to make his next court appearance on April 16th in Pincher Creek. St. Albert RCMP are asking for your assistance in identifying a male and female suspect for credit card fraud. At approximately 8 a.m. on Sunday, March 31st, a man and a woman entered the 7-Eleven store located on St. Albert Trail and attempted to use a stolen credit card to purchase items. These two suspects had already attended the Esso 7-Eleven located on Giroux Road and had used the same credit card there to make some purchases. The male suspect is described as a white male, approximately 6 feet tall and weighing about 150 pounds, wearing a gray jacket and baseball cap, black shorts and shoes. The female suspect is described as a white female, approximately 5 foot 5 inches tall and weighing about 100 pounds, wearing a black jacket with a pink hoodie underneath. The two suspects arrived at the store driving a silver older model Pontiac Grand Am car. If you have any information about this crime and would like to remain anonymous, contact Crime Stoppers by phone at 1-800-222-TIPS, 1-800-222-TIPS.
And do you run a small business? Do you have a separate bank account for it? Krista Lucier talks about why that's important on this week's Financial Focus.
I want money.
Today we're talking about keeping business and personal accounts separated. It's not required by CRA for proprietorships, but it is advisable. And for corporations, there's corporate regulation because you're a separate entity from yourself personally that you do have separate business bank accounts and credit cards. It's important for a bunch of reasons. The first is ensuring that you're sorting your records properly. It's a lot easier, it's going to save you time and probably some money if items are sorted between your personal and business accounts. It's also important because you don't want audit reflected on your personal bank accounts if your business is getting reviewed. If you have separate accounts that you can provide an auditor or an agent in the case of an auditor review, then they don't have to go and look at your personal accounts for anything. You also want to make sure that you're allowing for multiple signature authorities on your business checks. This is important to keep you away from fraud. To do that, you need to make sure that you have a business account so that you have dual signing lines. It's also a tax time nightmare. If you have everything in one account or everything is flowing through your personal account, it's going to take a lot of time to separate that out come tax time. It's also going to take a lot of time for you to go through and sort out all of your receipts. We also want to make sure that you don't miss any deductions. To ensure that, if you keep all of your purchases through business accounts, when your banks get reconciled for the business, you're not going to run into any receipts that you're looking for or that you're missing deductions, because when you're reconciling, you're ensuring that everything in that account has been accounted for. It's really important to keep these accounts segregated for a number of reasons, and if you need help, I would talk to a professional accountant or bookkeeper. Thank you for joining us today. This is Crystal Lucier with TV7.ca.
I want money.
Authorities are also asking for witnesses or information about a truck that was found empty and burning on Riel Drive shortly after 9 p.m. on Saturday, March 30th. The dark blue 2018 Dodge Ram pickup truck is alleged to have been stolen from an address on Amherst Crescent earlier that evening. Information about this crime can also be reported to Crime Stoppers.
Did you know that St. Albert has an idle-free bylaw? Despite the warmer weather, the city wants to remind you of the impact car idling has on human health. The bylaw limits idling of parked vehicles to 3 minutes at any time. This can also help to protect your health and the health of those around you. Often the places we idle are near those who are at the greatest risk for poor air quality, such as schools, daycares, and hospitals. The city's website has some useful tips on how you can reduce idling and the impacts on the environment. Considering that if Canadians avoided idling for 3 minutes every day, the amount of emissions prevented from entering the environment is like taking 340,000 cars off the road. To learn more about the impacts of air quality on human health, visit Alberta Environment and Parks.
Well, have you ever wanted to learn how to sing or play an instrument? Well, a local business has been helping St. Albertans do just that for the past 25 years. The Visionary Centre for the Performing Arts is this week's Business Spotlight.
Martha Livingstone, and the name of the company is Visionary Centre for the Performing Arts and Innovations Music and Visionary Entertainment. Well, we're a musical family. We're everybody here that comes and takes lessons here. We all are part of a musical community where we are really working really hard to develop everybody's creativity and help them achieve their goals. Like even if they're a beginner, if they're just starting out and they want to learn an instrument, we're really happy to get them started and get them inspired. Or if they're an advanced student, we have teachers that teach at a very advanced level as well. So in Visionary Centre for the Performing Arts, we offer music programs and acting programs in St. Albert here for ages basically 6 months old to adults. Well, we have a music festival that we do in the spring, which is called Futures Fest, and we bring in adjudicators from the outside, and it's a popular music festival, so it really focuses on band instruments like rock bands and singers and musical theater, and that's something we do in the spring. And we also are doing a lot of events over Christmas. Especially we're involved in the Snowflake Festival that's in St. Albert, that's going to be coming up at the end of November. So our students will be performing on the stage, and that's a great event for the family. So we're really excited because one of our students, Hannah Adamson, is going to be in the upcoming production at the Citadel Theatre in Matilda. And she's 11 years old, and a lot of times when professional theaters in Edmonton are looking for children or for young actors, they call me up and I recommend, we have some great students and they go out and audition, and so we like to provide those opportunities for students. We're serious about the education that we offer, and we're also serious about having fun.
And continuing with our election coverage, we meet up with the UCP candidate for the St. Albert riding, Jeff Wedman. Wedman tells us that his whole adult life has been in public service.
My whole adult life I've been in public service. First, I joined the military right out of high school, and I was a helicopter pilot in the Canadian Forces for 20 years. When I retired from that, we stayed in St. Albert, and I became a police officer, and I've been a police officer for the last 7 years. So my whole adult life has been spent in public service. This seemed a natural transition for me. I'd always been interested in it. My degree's in history and politics. All throughout high school, social studies was an interest. I've always maintained lots of knowledge about it, so it felt normal. I think I have a lot to bring to the table, and so that's why I'm putting myself out there to see if the public agrees.
The Edmonton City Police Patrol Constable feels his first-hand experience has given him a well-rounded feeling of what life is like, and as a result, he is perfectly suited to represent the St. Albert riding.
I'm here to represent St. Albert to the government, not the government to St. Albert. First and foremost, my absolute loyalty is to the people of St. Albert, and not just the ones who happen to vote Conservative. It's for the whole community. So I'm going to make sure I'm available to anybody. As an elected official, first and foremost, you're there to hear from your representatives. That you have to be available, you have to be in the community, living in the community, attending the community, being with your constituents as they go through their daily lives, both through the highs and through the lows. And so my pledge is that I will put that duty before my own personal enjoyment. It's a full-time job. It's beyond a full-time job. Being here with your fellow citizens all the time, whenever they need you, you need to be able to at least listen to them, hear them. You may not agree with each other, but at the end of the day, you have that open conversation where you at least know where each other's coming from, and then moving on from there.
If you can't get out April 16th to vote, Elections Alberta would like to remind you that advanced polls are open April 9th through to the 13th. Michelle Parker's here with Let's Get Fit.
All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about mixing things up. So the Canadian Activity Guide promotes that we should be aiming for 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity aerobic physical activity per week. So this could be things like indoor cycling, going for a brisk walk, maybe going out for a night of dancing, some ice skating with your friends, or taking in a new fitness class. We want to aim it to do in 10 minutes or more. And in doing this, we're going to be doing things like reducing our risk of premature death, heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, certain types of cancer, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, being overweight and obesity, and many other elements. Doing this activity can lead to improved fitness, strength, as well as mental health, morale, and self-esteem. These can lead to positive impacts in both work as well as at home. I have witnessed people standing taller and prouder. I have seen pride in people's faces as they completed their first 5-kilometer run, thinking they couldn't do it. I've heard stories from family members commenting on how nice their parents are to be around. And I personally have been grateful for the speedy recoveries that come from injuries and illnesses when they fall to those we love when they are in good fitness. All right, today's move of the week, it is the push-up. The push-up targets so many muscles. It's got our triceps in there, our biceps, our deltoids, our rhomboids, our traps, and so much more. And there's lots of alternatives with this exercise. There's your tricep push-up and your shoulder tap push-up is just 2 examples. So without further ado, I'm going to actually demonstrate what our push-up is going to look like for us. So when you're coming down into your push-up, we're going to start in what we refer to as plank set position. So with that plank set position, I want to make sure your wrist is stacked underneath that shoulder. So I don't want to see you back here. Make sure you're centered over top of those wrists. Your glutes are engaged. We're going to squeeze those butt cheeks. We're going to squeeze our quads and hamstrings. So we have a nice strong and long line from your shoulders all the way down to your heels, drawing that belly button up towards your spine. From here, we're going to take it down into your push-up, lowering down in one smooth movement and coming back up. Now there's lots of variations. One would be to drop down onto your knees, lowering your chest towards the floor and bringing it up. Now whether you're doing it from your toes or from your knees, what I do not want to see is that your pelvis drops down, arching and putting pressure on the back. Always make sure it's elevated and engaged as you lower down and press back up. Now, if you find these two not the right move for you yet, think about putting a bench, a chair, coffee table, or doing it off of a wall. Lots of options for starting, and then slowly progress your way down to the floor when you're ready. All right, that's our move of the week, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us here today. And from TV7.ca News, I'm Michelle Parker.
5 years ago, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada held its last national event in Edmonton. This marked the end of one process and the beginning of another. It was the end of the Commission's work, but it was the beginning of our community's journey on the path to reconciliation. The truth phase of this work is about learning about the hard truths of residential schools, the 60s scoop, and the devastating impact this history has had on generations of Indigenous peoples. The city began its own journey towards reconciliation by working with the Indigenous community to establish a healing garden in St. Albert. One of the first of its kind in Canada, the Healing Garden acknowledges survivors of Indian residential schools and provides a place for reflection and healing in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. St. Albert was home to 2 residential schools, the St. Albert Indian Residential School, also known as Uville, which was located on Mission Hill just north of downtown St. Albert, and the Edmonton Indian Residential School, also known as Poundmaker, which was located about 6 kilometers east of downtown St. Albert. The Healing Garden officially opened on September 15, 2017, and has become an important landmark in our community. The city is continuing to work with the Indigenous community as we prepare for the next phase of our path to reconciliation. On April 17th at 1 p.m. at the St. Albert Curling Club, there will be an official launch of Pehonan Reconciliation St. Albert. Pehonan is the Cree word for gathering place and is a traditional Indigenous name for the valley where St. Albert is located. This event will mark the formal start of the engagement phase of our reconciliation journey. Please watch the City website in the coming weeks for more information on this event.
And that's all she wrote this week. If you have any community events or news you'd like to share with our viewers, please send us an email at news@tv7.ca. From all of us here at tv7.ca, I'm Paul Huckelak, and have an amazing week.